You know a supermarket has achieved legendary status when just saying the name conjures up a whole sensory experience. The smell of dusty carpet tiles, the relentless flicker of fluorescent strip lighting, and most of all, the unmistakable sound of a shopping trolley with one squeaky defiant wheel that refuses to go in a straight line. If you grew up in the UK in the 80s or 90s, Kwik Save was probably part of your weekly life, or at the very least, the butt of a few jokes in the school playground. Whether you shopped there religiously or looked down your nose at it, Kwik Save was everywhere. Then, almost without warning, it was gone. So, what on earth happened? How did one of Britain's biggest supermarket chains, a titan with over 1,000 shops, just vanish from our high streets and fade into memory? This story starts back in 1959 in the decidedly unglamorous town of Rhyl, North Wales. A fiercely ambitious man named Albert Goubet had an idea. He looked at post-war Britain and saw a population that was tired of austerity but still deeply value-conscious. People didn't want to pay extra to shop somewhere with polished floors, fancy lighting, or staff who asked about their day. They wanted the basics, they wanted them in bulk, and most importantly, they wanted them cheap. Inspired by the ruthlessly efficient discount stores he'd seen in Germany and the US, Goubet launched a No-Frills experiment. Its first name was Value Foods, but he soon landed on a name that perfectly captured his entire business model, Kwik Save. The blueprint for Kwik Save was simple. Everything was designed to crush overheads into the ground. This meant tearing up the supermarket rulebook. Forget neatly stacked shelves, products were sold straight from the cardboard delivery boxes. And forget choice. While other supermarkets offered 10 types of jam, Kwik Save gave you 1, maybe 2. This fanatical obsession with efficiency led to rock-bottom running costs, and the pennies saved were passed directly to the customer. For millions of working-class families, it was a lifeline that made a tight weekly budget stretch in ways they never thought possible. By the 1970s, Kwik Save was an unstoppable force. It went public on the London Stock Exchange in 1970, and its growth was absolutely explosive, having gone from a few shops to hundreds in just a decade. The formula was simple and easy to replicate, which made it incredibly profitable. While its big rivals like Tesco and Sainsbury's were still figuring out how to transition from old-school grocers to modern supermarkets, Kwik Save had already locked down a huge, loyal customer base that cared about one thing and one thing only: price. Even at its most popular, shopping at Kwik Save was a strange experience. The atmosphere inside was often cold and grim, focused purely on efficiency. It had the feeling of a warehouse that had been quickly converted to sell food. Or, as one internet user put it, like a Soviet Costco. Even their own products, under the No-Frills brand, looked incredibly basic. Just a plain white label with black text saying cat food or baked beans. There was a unique charm to it all. Kwik Save never tried to be something it wasn't, and its rough around the edges feel was a clear sign that you were saving money. But no good thing lasts forever. The mid-1990s kicked off a supermarket arms race, and Kwik Save was left standing still. The whole idea of grocery shopping was transforming into a sophisticated retail experience. Tesco got personal, launching its groundbreaking club card in 1995 to track customer habits. Sainsbury's went upmarket, rebranding itself as the home of quality and aspiration. Meanwhile, Asda, supercharged by Walmart's expertise, was mastering the American-style big box store, promising huge ranges and unbeatable value with its famous pocket tap price guarantee. For shoppers, the contrast was becoming impossible to ignore. A trip to Kwik Save in the late 90s was a jarring experience. These shops were frozen in time, with the same grim lighting and cramped layouts they'd had for decades. The next chapter of the downfall began in 1998 when Kwik Save was bought by its rival, Somerfield. It was a catastrophic culture clash. Somerfield was aimed at a middle-class suburban customer a million miles away from Kwik Save's gritty, budget-focused shoppers. Somerfield executives tried to merge the two businesses by converting some Kwik Saves into Somerfields, but this just created mass confusion. You had shops being rebranded without the product lines actually changing. Staff from two completely different company cultures were forced to work together under confusing new systems. The single most important thing Kwik Save had, its crystal clear identity as a no-frills discounter, was being destroyed. Then the final brutal knockout punch was delivered by two German challengers, Aldi and Lidl. These two were a different breed. They were basically the 2.0 version of what Kwik Save had started. Their shops were clean, brightly lit, and designed with military precision. Their supply chains were legendary for their efficiency. They offered prices that were just as low as Kwik Save's, but the quality of their products was consistently better, with a curated range of European goods that felt surprisingly premium. Aldi and Lidl proved that budget shopping could feel smart and savvy, not sad and desperate. From 2000 to 2007, Kwik Save entered its final, painful spiral. More locations closed. The company's credit with its suppliers ran out, meaning stock availability became a running joke. Shelves were often completely bare. Management teams came and went, each one promising a miraculous turnaround that never happened. The staff who were left were overworked and demoralized. The last of the customers finally gave up and went elsewhere. In 2006, Somerfield sold off the remaining chunk of Kwik Save to a private investment group, and within a year, the business collapsed into administration. Over 1,000 people lost their jobs, and the shutters came down for good. A few small shops, mostly in the brand's Welsh heartland, kept the name alive, but they were Kwik Save in name only. By 2008, the giant that had once dominated the budget-conscious British HighStreet was effectively extinct. But here's the funny thing, people really miss it. Not in a let's start a petition to bring it back way, but in a warm, ironic, and genuinely fond way. It's a brand that still brings a smile to people's faces in pub conversations and online forums. Anytime one of its battered old shopping trolleys is fished out of a canal, people share memories of its gloriously grim aisles. And it deserves to be remembered. For all its faults, Kwik Save served a vital purpose. For decades, it helped families on tight budgets put food on the table, it employed thousands of people, and it gave people a way to shop with dignity, even if the surroundings were less than glamorous. Its founder, Albert Goubet, eventually donated almost his entire fortune to charity before he passed away in 2016. He'd built an empire from nothing, all based on a simple idea of giving people value when they needed it most. And even though Kwik Save is long gone, that scrappy, resourceful, working-class spirit it represented is still a huge part of the British story. So next time you're in the polished aisles of an Aldi or Lidl, filling your basket with 60p croissants, remember Kwik Save. The supermarket that walked so that others could run. The messy, imperfect, but utterly unforgettable original British discounter. But what do you reckon? Do you have fond memories of shopping at Kwik Save, or were you glad to see it go? And what was the one bizarre own brand product you'll never forget? Drop your memories in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, give us a like, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Cheers for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.